All right, we need to talk about diesel heaters. Focus on my face, please. So here's the thing about diesel heaters. I was under the impression that diesel heaters were not a viable option, that they were messy, they were sooty, that diesel would spill everywhere, that they had complicated electrical systems, that the pumps were loud and super clicky and gross. And there's been this whole laundry list of reasons not to use one unless you're in dire circumstances and you really want to camp in the cold and you're willing to put up with a little bit of the hassle. That said, all-in-one units like this have been intriguing to me, but a turnoff, because I am the kind of guy who would rather do it myself and do it the way that fits my needs. So this is actually my first ever diesel heater review, because this is the first ever diesel heater that when I looked at it, I was like, that kind of looks like it'll work for what I want to do. So let's talk about what's going on here. And I'm not a diesel heater expert. There are videos out there with millions of views that dig into the nuances and the this and the that and the kilowatts and the whatever of diesel heaters. I'm not that guy. This video is going to be based on my true real life experience as a guy who was cold and didn't want to be cold, so he used a diesel heater. That's what this video is. In fact, that's what we're going to do. We're going to set up a ground tent behind me here, and we're going to pipe some heat into it and see really how this thing works. So let's start with that. Hey, what gives? This is the Rome Adventure Co. ground tent. You saw it. It's kind of weird to set up. Maybe I just need to do it a few more times. I've probably done it, I don't know, 15 times at this point. It's not my favorite as far as overlanding goes. I hate that word, but you know what I'm getting at. I do prefer a rooftop tent because it's quicker and everything's just kind of in one place, but it's super roomy. It does set up reasonably quick. Doing it with one person without like someone helping out, you saw what it looks like. I did try one time staking it first, but then the stakes were too close together, so maybe I'll just like stake one corner and then set it up. Whatever, it's set up. What I do like about it though is it does have a diesel heater port, so we'll be able to pipe in that hot air without, sucking in some fumes and killing ourselves. Hopefully. That's not true. We won't, because I've actually used this diesel heater with this tent multiple times and it works great. And I'm here to tell you that. So that's proof. That's how proof works, right? Alright. Tent is set up. Now we're going to do something I have not done yet with this heater, which is kind of funny, but I'm going to open it up. Hopefully there's not like wrappers or things I was supposed to remove before using this, because I have used this multiple times. So this is my first look inside of here, and I'm just gonna touch a few things. It's kind of what you'd expect for around $200 diesel heater build. The diesel heater itself, I believe it's an 8 kilowatt. This label doesn't say. It says its model number is a TB2. So, all right. Oh yeah. So well. I don't know, its FCC ID is 2A7W6 TB2. No idea. It's got an address on it though. Whatever. That's ridiculous. So let's get into what my impressions are of the interior here. So the air intake hose, that's pretty typical that you get from a manufacturer on a DIY kit. The exhaust hose, I don't love this tape that they put around it, but at least they have tape around it. I've seen other ones that don't have an exhaust tape. It feels like there might be a second layer of insulation on it, so that's nice. Oh, and it's wrapped nicely around the heater itself. That's good. The heater has a small, I'll call it a shock absorber, but it's attached to that plate nicely. Large opening. I want to say it's roughly a 4-inch opening, which is nice because some of the 3-inch ones will backfill with the heat that's pushing out, and it will actually overheat the heater. I have not had an overheating issue with this unit. Tank size. I don't know. I think it's a couple gallons. I've used this quite a few times, and I think I've only refilled it once. I believe on Amazon they say that it will run for 50 hours continuously. So I'm going to say that that probably checks out with how I've been running it. I don't run it on super high modes. I stick between 1 and 3 as my max, and we'll talk about that when we get it into the tent. But yeah, electrical connections, a little more wire than I would expect to see, but pretty clean overall. Just zip tied together. Fuel lines are the traditional Chinese diesel heater green, kind of cheap fuel lines. But again, $200. If you were to go and do this yourself, you would spend, I mean, $200 on the box if you bought a Pelican box. Where is the pump? Okay, so the pump is down there. It's not, so the pump you're supposed to kind of mount on an angle. This one's pretty parallel. I'd say that that end needs to be a little further down, but it's not. I've had no issues with it, so that's not really a problem at all. It does have, I just noticed this. Make sure my hand doesn't smell like diesel. I've had it on the cap. So that cap's not. Oh, I guess my cap was loose. Anyway, that's on me. So it does have a small opening under the exhaust. I suppose if you mounted this, you could run the exhaust straight out if you wanted to. I think they did a pretty okay job. Again, not the quality of materials I would use, but I think when I built mine, it was like $600 total. So at a fraction of the price, you get a very similar experience. The only thing this doesn't have is a way to mount it to your vehicle, which would be ideal. But then again, they also told me not to really keep it outside. My first time using it, it got rained on, and I sent them an email, and I was like, yeah, I used it in the rain. And they were like, whoa, don't do that. So I guess you don't really want this to get wet, and a big reason for that, are we done on the inside? Good connections there. That's just the unit itself sticking out. That's good. So the inlet has a cone. All right, we're done on the inside. So a big reason you don't want to get this box wet is this end here. I just realized I shot that entire first portion of this video at 60 frames a second. So that's cool. Whatever. Okay, so this end is why you don't want this to get out in the weather. It has the display on it, and you can't remove the display. This is actually the reason I would say build your own. Having the display on the outside makes no sense to me because this display doesn't do anything. It's a thermostat, but you can't have this in the same room that you're running it in unless you want to run it one time in your life, which would be the last time you run anything, because this will kill you. The exhaust fumes will kill you. So the idea that this is a thermostat and the control module on the outside of the box makes zero sense to me. I would put this on the inside of the box, and when I've built my own, that's what I've done. What I really wish would be just the ultimate is if it sat on here and it charged or something like that while this was booting up, and then you could take this off and put it where you're planning to heat, and it would wirelessly via Bluetooth or whatever transmit the thermostat to the device. That would be awesome, because I don't even use the preset thermostat because it doesn't do anything. The ambient temperature outside is what it's measuring, not where the room is heating. So this, to me, is a flaw of this all-in-one design style. I don't know what to say other than these are constantly getting better. I think that's why YouTubers are reviewing them. I feel like every 8 months it's like, this year's diesel heater. So maybe next year this will have a removable faceplate, and that'll be the rage, because the all-in-one tank thing is the rage this year, which I love and I'm happy about. This, whatever. This I don't care about. Make it a power switch. Let me just come over here and flip a switch and then run it from my phone, because the thermostat doesn't do anything. Okay, end of rant on that. This is the air intake. It's nice. Again, you're not storing this on the outside of your vehicle because none of these are closed off or protected from the weather. That said, I have only ever stored this in my truck bed because it's diesel fuel. So again, a bit of another flaw. And like, this is just how I see it. If I built my own, which I have, all of my ports had a way to cap them and seal them so that the diesel heater could be safely stored outside of my cab, because I don't want diesel fuel inside the cab with me. So being able to cover all of these and make them weatherproof during transport, that's ideal. This doesn't have that. not the end of the world, because again, I've just kept it in my truck bed and made sure that it has a cover, a tarp, honestly, over it, and it's done well. You can even see like it's gotten a little bit of dirt on it from that day that it rained, splashback mud, but it works. Another thing I really like about this is the port here. Some of the other Chinese diesel heaters in a box, their power ports are odd and you have to kind of make your own. I like this one because they give you the DC, the direct straight plug it in, or you can run a 120 volt, which is really nice because most portable power stations can't turn on a diesel heater because the 12 volt requires 15 amps and most portable power stations are 10 amps. Now, I don't have one that can do it, but I believe Blue Eddy made one. I will link it in the video description. So if you want a diesel heater and a battery to go with it, I'll make sure that the one that's 15 amps is linked alongside this so that you could run both simultaneously. Backside, no mount, because again, you're not going to store this on the outside of your vehicle with all of the vents and openings, and it's not exactly weather tight. And then the other side. Okay, so this, I always thought this was kind of weird about diesel heaters, where the hose going to wherever you're planning to send air is on the same side as the exhaust. I think even in mine, I've built them the same way. It's bizarre to me. It feels backwards because I don't want these two anywhere near each other. Last thing I want is this to contaminate the air that I'm sending in. They do give some accessories. We'll go through that in a minute. I honestly don't use the exhaust hose. I'll be honest with you. I just don't. You probably should, but I don't. It's more to carry. It's something to lose, whatever. As far as the out end, again, nice big large opening. You can see straight in to the heater there. I really like this. This has worked very well for me. It has kept me nice and toasty. So overall, yeah, there's a few cons if you want to use it a very specific way, but as a general heater, I think it's pretty good. It's pretty similar to what you would build yourself. What I would build myself. We don't need to have me in the picture. Look at this thing. You're not here for me. So yeah, it's pretty on point with its price. So you're getting what you pay for. And that's nice. Okay. Let's talk about what comes in the other box. The box I don't really use. Oh, actually, before we do that, let's talk about the stuff I do use. So let's start here. This is the outlet hose. It's nice, big, high diameter, roughly 4 inches. I think it's 70 millimeters is what they say. I really like this thing for what I need it for. Ground tent right next to the heater, perfect. If I had a rooftop tent or a camper and I was trying to run this into that, it's not gonna work. You need something longer and you're gonna want something insulated because by the time the air leaves the heater and gets to you, it's gonna be cooled down by the ambient air. So works for my needs. If you're trying to get a longer run, you're gonna need a bigger one of these. I believe it's 70 millimeters. So find a 70 millimeter insulated line, you'll be much happier. So I was just talking about this a little bit. This is the 120 volt adapter. I have been using this exclusively with my diesel heater. I haven't even tried to worry about the 12 volt. This is another reason I said yes to this specific heater, because I can just, we'll plug it in and not worry about it. It's gonna work. So with my Jackery that I've been using it with, works great. This is the box that has the accessories in it that come with it. Things that frankly I haven't used. This is what the 120 was in. So I've used that. But there is, mount for the muffler. Didn't use that. There's a product manual. I haven't used that. There's an exhaust pipe. These are notoriously cheap. I will link a really good brand of exhaust pipe down below if you need an exhaust pipe. I'm not even worth touching those. There is an inlet with an air filter. I haven't used this. This is all extra stuff to carry. I guess if you're really going for a more installed setup, you'd use this. I'm going for portability, so this has not been a priority at all for me to use any of this stuff. Then there's a muffler for the exhaust. And I've seen a few videos on these mufflers. They leak, they're terrible. Don't ever use this indoors, you will die. It's not worth it to me. The diesel heaters are gonna make noise. so this isn't going to make it quieter or quiet enough to talk about. It's not worth it. Some hose clamps, and then the 12 volt, which doesn't have a fuse. Look at that. That's kind of weird. You see that? You see what I'm seeing? This doesn't have a fuse. Again, I'm not worried about the 12 volt, but it does say 12 volt or 24 volt and 15 amps. So, yeah, you're going to need 15 amps. It's just the way diesel heaters work. Sorry, whatever. I want to be clear, too. H Calorie did send me this. I didn't buy this. However, I believe in honest reviews, so this is my genuine opinion after using this quite a few times. I really like it. I continue to use it. I have other diesel heaters that I've made myself, and I grabbed this one. So while I might have criticisms on its design and some of the function features of it, it's better than what I made myself. So we'll kind of leave it at that for now. So that's kind of the first overview. Something you're going to need to buy yourself, other than a power supply of whatever variety, is one of these little guys. Not this one specifically, although I will link it below. But this is a CO sensor, and it's got a little... We'll turn it on. That way you can see what I'm talking about. Oh, don't be dead. It might be dead. It's clearly dead. Anyways, it's we'll plug it into the Jackery when we have everything running. This one runs off of USB-C, which is nice. I think the display on it's pretty bright at night, so it does get a little bit annoying, but the alarm on it is loud enough to wake me up, so I like that about it. It's got a little kickstand on the back, so you can kind of set it up, whatever. It's decent. It's USB-C rechargeable, so that's also nice. I keep the little lanyard on there so I can hang it from things, and that way it can detect while I'm in the space. And then it's also got a thermometer, so I could see how well the heater is performing, which is what we will do today. So I'm going to get this in there, and I'm going to plug it in, and we'll see what the ambient temperature is in the tent now that it's been, sitting there with the door open like it has been. And then we're going to fire up the diesel heater and see how hot we can get the inside of that tent. We're going for sauna, I believe, right? That's what we want. Sauna hot? We don't. We just want comfortable. That's the whole point of this. You just want to remain comfortable and alive. We're not looking to, sweat box that thing. All right, let's go do it. So something I don't like about this system is that the short end of the power cable is the end that plugs into the heater, and the long end is the end that, well, I would want to be inside because of the power supply. So I honestly have been using this power supply outside of the tent, which is not ideal. Again, it's been working. I'm happy with it. But I wish that the long end was the end that plugged into the heater. So it's a cold start. It's been outside all day. This is what it sounds like booting up. The display, it's okay, honestly. I prefer the app, which is really nice because the H Calorie app is awesome. And we'll talk about that inside the tent. So that clicking sound right there, that is the fuel pump running. In fact, I wonder if we can pop this open and get a good... you can't really see the fuel running. It's a little dark and just hard to see, but that fuel pump that's down there, that's what's clicking as it boots here. I'm starting to smell exhaust, so I know it's ignited, which is a good sign. That clicking will not subside, but it's not as bad. Other imported heaters, that clicking is so awful. It's all night. It's annoying. This, however, it's actually pretty good. I don't mind this when it's at what I would call cruising temperature. Cruising altitude is what I wanted to say, but the other thing about this, speaking of altitude, is it does have an altitude calculator, so it will adjust the fuel richness. And this is the best way I can put it. Again, I'm not a diesel heater expert. I just know that this is not going to collect soot like earlier versions of imported heaters. This one knows how high it currently is relative to sea level. That's what I'm getting at. All right? There it's running. How's that sound? Sounds like a jet engine. I love it. So this guy here, this is our CO detector and thermometer. It says it is 37 degrees in here right now. It is definitely cold. 0 parts per million though, so that's really good. We're gonna just check this kind of regularly as this thing heats up. It's on setting 1 right now. Okay, as this is getting going, you can hear that clicking is slowing down. Back inside the tent, it is blowing warm air. It's not a big forced blow on setting 1, so we're going to play with the app a little bit now, and we're going to get this sucker really moving some air. Pop into the app, and it's pretty good at just connecting. I haven't really had many problems with the app. Boom, just like that. So now it's saying it's running. It has a high plateau setting, so that's how it knows where we are, which is pretty nice. It's currently on gear mode because temp mode, it's outside of the room. Why would you use that? That's what we were talking about earlier. Drawn 13 volts, pretty good. So we're gonna crank that up to 3, and let's hear it change. So ambient temperature out there is 36 degrees. The body temperature of the heater is 230. Another thing I really like about this app is things are actually in Fahrenheit. So I don't have to, do any kind of calculations or think of temperatures differently because, well, I live in America. But if you don't, I believe you can go to settings and change all of your units. Yes, you can. So that's setting 3. This is really the highest setting I generally run it on. And that's to conserve fuel and, just make sure I have heat all night long. That said, let's crank this thing. The highest setting I want to say is 8. Nope, it's 10. Max gear, 10. Let's see how this sounds. There's a jet flying overhead. It's compounding the sound of the heater. That sucker gets really cooking. It's moving a lot of air right now. Feels great. That is nice, clean, easy air. I don't think you're ever going to really run it on 10. The fuel consumption alone would be pretty annoying. But you can see it's getting 266 is the body temp. I'm going to drop it down to 5. And we're going to close the door behind me, and we'll come back in, 30 minutes or so and see what the temperature of the tent is. Right now it is 46 degrees. So it's raised quite a bit. All right, I'm gonna come back in about 30 minutes or so. So it's actually been just under 20 minutes, and I wanted to come back out here and see how we're doing. Right now, we are up to, that's really bright. Let's do this. What does that say? 64 degrees, and still 0 parts per million. So survivable. It actually feels pretty darn comfortable in here. Yeah, I think this thing works, and this is why I've been using this in this tent. This thing does such a good job. You can hear that. I guess what I should say is you can't hear the click of the pump. It's very faint, so the jet sound of the air overpowers the click, which is great because other ones I've used, that clicking is so obnoxious It's almost like, man, I'd rather just freeze. Okay, that's not true, but some people would say that. I would rather have the heat and deal with a click. From the outside, however, you can hear the click. So it's facing, that pump is facing away from the tent. But yeah, it feels good. It's warm, it's comfortable. I can go to bed in here now. The sun is officially gone, but you can get a better feel for that click from the outside out here. It's really not bad. This is one of the best fuel pumps that I've had direct from any of the diesel heater companies. So, good job, H-Calorie. One thing I want to do before I end the video is I want to check the fuel, because this was about, I would say, halfway in that tank. So let's see where it is now. Barely even moved. That's great. So that I would feel comfortable running that for a few more hours on 5. That's really awesome. Doing great. There's that click. It's very subtle from outside. Hey look, a camera. How does this made? Whatever. Now when you do turn these off, you have to let them like cool down and actually go through a shutdown procedure. So that's what we're going to do together here on the old app. I think you just tap heating and you say deactivate the device, yes. And then this is going to go through and shut it down. You can hear it's already kind of stopped what it's working on. There you go. It's just working on shutting itself down. It takes a few minutes. But you don't want to just pull the power cord on this. You want to let it go through this process. That way it doesn't collect soot and it doesn't backfill smoke. If you do run out of fuel or if your battery dies, it will be an instant shut off. And you could get smoke and other fumes inside. That has happened to me once before, because here, even in its shut off process, it's kind of burning that extra stuff off. So you can smell it more right now, but all of that is staying outside of the tent, which is great. So there you have it. That is the H-Calorie, I think they call it a Toolbox 2, version 2. It's good. It's been working for me. It's the one I've been using all winter long. Yeah, I could probably make something better, but it's going to cost me 4 times as much and take a bunch of my time. This just works, and if it breaks, I guess replace it, right? But it's done good. Like, I've had this in the rain, in the muck, driven, it's been snowed on. It's done really good for being as exposed to the elements as it is. That said, I'm not telling you it's indestructible. It's just performed well for me. I have been cautious enough in trying to keep it as covered as I can. When it was snowing, the night that I used it when it was snowing, my rain fly extended and covered it enough here on the tent. So it's not like it was just getting dumped on. It actually stayed pretty dry. So that's it. That's the H-Calorie. Works great. I love that it has an AC adapter. I love the huge outlet hose. Really just throws a ton of air, and I'm not afraid of it overheating on itself. Criticisms: the power cord. I wish that the long end was the end that plugs into the heater. I wish that it was mountable. I wish that it was weatherproof. I wish that the thermostat could be detached. All of those aren't deal breakers, though, for something in the $200 price range. If you were paying $1,000 for this, boy, all those would say, nope, don't do it. But for its price, it does exactly what it should. It heats a space. All right. I think that does it for me. So if you like the video, please like the video. If you have a question, leave me a comment. And if you want to hang out again, we'll make sure to subscribe. Until next time, Justin B. McBride.